I'm hosting a school fundraiser to spread awareness.
Sea turtles being endangered species. I'm going to talk about sustainable shopping and how not to use plastic. You should totally come. Save the turtles.
That's a great initiative, but do you understand why they're being classified as endangered species? Do you know that they're being slaughtered by poachers for their eggs and shells? How climate change is impacting on their nesting sites?
Yeah, I totally know all that.
Oh, is that why you're sipping your drink with a plastic straw? These plastic straws break down into smaller particles that are known as microplastics, which the hatchlings consume and they fill their stomach up with plastic. And then young turtles get trapped in these seaweed mats and they die due to suffocation.
Oh my god, I didn't know about this. I'm not using plastic as straws anymore. But I'd love to know more from you. Could you tell me?
No, I can't tell you, but I can show you.
Climate change is the long-term alteration of temperature and typical weather patterns in a location. In the 1800s, experiments suggest that human-produced greenhouse gases could collect in the atmosphere and could heat up the Earth in the future. By the late 1950s, the CO2 emissions in the atmosphere increased drastically, corroborating majorly to global warming and an increase in the surface temperature of the Earth. If temperatures on the Earth keep rising, eventually only man-made objects will remain on Earth. For example, if global average temperatures were to rise by 5 degrees Celsius, 95% of the crocodiles will disappear, while 0% of the old tires will be affected.
Climate change can occur due to natural causes as well as human causes, or better referred to as anthropogenic causes. Long before humans came into the picture, the Earth had undergone warming and cooling phases in the past. Factors that contributed to climate change are volcanic eruptions, meteor showers, greenhouse gases, ocean currents, and an increase in the intensity of sunrays. But records indicated that today's climatic warming, particularly which had occurred since the mid 20th century, is happening at a much faster rate than even before and can't be explained by natural causes alone. The greenhouse gases emissions generated from human activity is a leading cause of the Earth's rapidly changing climate today. But the amount of these gases in our atmosphere skyrocketed in the recent decades. The burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, gas for electricity, heat, and transportation is the primary source of human-generated emissions. A second major source is deforestation, which releases sequestered or stored carbon into the air, and is estimated that logging, clear cluttering, fires, and other forms of forest degradation released an average of 8.1 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide per year, accounting for more than 20% of all the CO2 global emissions.
Due to the cascading effects of climate change transforming global ecosystem, it affects everything from the places we live to the water we drink to the air we breathe. Unpredictable weather patterns. Higher temperatures worsen and increase the frequency of many types of disasters, including storms, floods, heat waves, and droughts. This has devastating and costly consequences: no access to clean drinking water, out of control wildfires, property that has been damaged, hazardous material spills, air pollution, and loss of life. Rise in sea level. The Arctic is heating up twice as fast as any other place on the Earth. Our oceans are on track to rise by anywhere from 0.95 to 3.61 feet by the end of the century. Threatening coastal ecosystems, low-lying areas, island nations face particular risk, as do some of the world's largest cities, including New York City, Miami, Mumbai in India, and Sydney and Paris. Rise in temperature. It's estimated that the Earth's average temperature rose by about 1 degree Fahrenheit during the 20th century. If that doesn't sound like much, consider this. When the last ice age ended and the northeastern United States was covered by more than 3,000 feet of ice, average temperatures were just 5 to 9 degrees cooler than they are now. Loss of biodiversity. According to 2020 study, 1/3 of all animal and plant species could face extinction by 2070. Phenomena that has been linked to climate change, pollution, and deforestation, all interconnected threats. On the flip side, milder winters and longer summers have enabled some species to thrive, including tree-killing insects and that are endangering entire forests.
This is what our situation is like with respect to climate change. Our world is already on the brink of extinction in the future. I can't tell you what the future holds for us, but I can definitely show you the stats. In fact, there's a news report going on right now. So let's see it.
Good morning, everyone. Let's talk about climate change in the decades. Let's start at 1827, which was the year when the French physicist Joseph Fourier described the Earth's natural greenhouse gas effect and said it was the first used greenhouse gas analogy. In the 1890s, scientists Savante Arrhenius and P.C. Chamberlain realized that the burning of fossil fuels could lead to global warming, but neither suspected that the process might have already begun. In the decades 1890 to 1940, an average surface air temperature increased by about 0.25 degrees Celsius. In 1940 to 1970, worldwide cooling of 0.2 degrees was observed. 1979 was the first climate conference worldwide, and which is where they adopted climate change as a major issue and called on governments to foresee this to prevent a potential man-made change in the climate. In the 1985, the first major international conference on the greenhouse gas effect was conducted at Village, Australia, and warned that the greenhouse gas effect would be the first half of the next century to cause a global mean rise of temperature greater than anything seen in the history. In 1987, this was the warmest year on record since the decade began, and it also turned out to be the hottest decade on record. In 1989, the Intergovernmental Panel on the Climate Change, or IPCC, was established under the United Nations, and in the 1997, the 1997, the first global agreement to reduce greenhouse gas effect was adopted, which is known as the Kyoto Protocol. This protocol was also signed by President Bill Clinton and called for a reduction in emission of 6% of the greenhouse gases to 5.2% below 1990 levels. In 2001, President George Bush announced that the United States would not implement the Kyoto Protocol and stated that the protocol was fatally flawed in fundamental ways and cited concerns to deal that would hurt the US economy. In 2004, a deal is struck on Kyoto, and President Putin announced that in May, the Russians will back the protocol. 2005, on 16th of February 2005, the Kyoto Protocol came into force, and it was also the second warmest year on record. Speeding up to 2009 was when governments, including the US, prepared to negotiate a successor to the Kyoto Protocol. Our experience colleagues showed that the Antarctic region and the Arctic regions continue to warm much faster than expected. In 2015, the Paris Treaty was signed, and the backbone of it was to declare that the preventive global warming temperature rise of 2 degrees Celsius was a critical limit, which, if surpassed, would lead to an increased risk of more deadly heat waves, droughts, storms, and rising global sea levels. In 2016 and 2018, Greta Thunberg strikes a strike in school to raise awareness for climate change. And in 2019, the UN Climate Action Summit reinforced that 1.5 degrees is a socially, economically, politically, and scientifically safe limit to global warming by the end of this century. This is about the climate of climate change. Handing it over to my colleague Shruti, who will take you through future prospects of climate change.
Thank you for the introduction, Jheel. Now let's see the 2050 scenario. It is impossible to know what the world will look like in 2050. Analyzing current trends and drivers of change across a variety of industries, sectors, categories, and topics can help to characterize different possible futures. Most global trends indicate an improvement in the societal well-being, an increase in global life expectancy, GDP, and education levels. Simultaneously, other trends depict a more perilous future, particularly regarding our environment, global temperature and sea level rise, an increase in extreme weather events, ocean acidification, and tropical forest loss. These trends are often viewed individually and perhaps perceived as being unrelated, as they interact in complex and often intricate ways. The trends here are mapped out into a four-square matrix with two axes: planetary health and societal condition. Planetary health measures the condition of Earth's natural systems, including water cycles, forests, oceans, biodiversity, and climate change. And societal condition describes the state of humanity and encompasses factors such as the quality of life, public health, societal structure, governance systems, education, and work. Post-Anthropocene shows how societal conditions and planetary health might exist in a harmonious relationship, fortifying each other for mutual progress and benefit. Greentocracy describes an improvement in planetary health, which has been enabled by severe restrictions of human society, restrictive living conditions, conflict, and authoritarian regimes prevail. Extension Express depicts declining planetary health and societal conditions. It is questionable how much longer humanity can survive. Humans Incorporate represents our current trajectory, a world in which societal condition advances at the cost of planetary health. Many impacts on Earth systems cannot be reversed within the next 30 years. Global warming and sea level rise, rapid urbanization, global population growth, and rising education levels are experienced in all scenarios. These four worlds, each extreme yet plausible, impart a valuable message. There is no one future state, just as there is no present state. It tells us how the future is fictitious and uncertain, as there is no way to know what the world will look like in 30 years. So the best way to go about it is by exploring the possibilities of what our future holds for us in 2050 and reimagine our role as a society. When we look at the present state, each of these scenarios could exist in parallel because globally we do exist in multiple and opposing states simultaneously. As there are both strict and lax climate policies, increasing and decreasing birth rates, a rise in globalization, a rise in nationalism, open and closed borders, the growth of urbanization, and low density suburbs, the list goes on. The same can be said for the future. Out of the four possible futures, the most ideal would be a post-Anthropocene world, as it provides a future with positive planetary health and positive societal conditions. It will be challenging and paved with conflicting agendas and undesirable events, but it will be the most likely scenario where we hope to strive in harmony with the environment. To sum it all up, one thing that can be guaranteed is that our today's actions play a significant role in the future of what we will experience.
So now you see, this is the impact climate change has on our world.
Thank you for educating me about this. I did not know such a small thing could make such a big impact on our climate. Now I'm going to try to live a sustainable life. Thank you.